Hi, welcome to QC Crime Watch. I'm Linda Cook,
And I'm Sharon Wren. And
and
this,
we're here to talk about some of the really up-to-date crimes that have happened in the last week or so. And in fact, some of these crimes have unfolded in the last few hours as we record this on a Friday. We do want to say, as we always do, we're not attorneys. And because of a conflict of interest possibility, and because we're not attorneys, we can't recommend any legal help to anybody. Sorry.
no, not attorneys, nor do we play them on TV.
That's right. As we are recording this on Friday afternoon, we have some really important news that is just breaking now. Sharon, take it away.
Yes, the sentencing in the Christopher B. Hall murder case happened today. Mr. B. Hall was convicted in the murder of his girlfriend at the time in Parkview in 2024. This is kind of a weird case because the Scott County Sheriff's Department initially responded to a crash with injuries. And that's where they found Mr. B. Hall. And in the course of investigating the crash, as they do, they went back to B. Hall's home and found his girlfriend, Taylor I'm probably going to mangle Escontrias was the victim's name. So Mr. B. Hall was arrested for first-degree murder and other charges, and a Scott County judge or court sentenced him to life in prison without parole today. He
Now,
also,
this happened just a few minutes ago, right?
yes, literally 10, 15 minutes ago. So it's
10 or
it's
15
freshy
minutes
fresh.
ago. So tell the people who are watching, and it won't be fresh to them right now, but tell them how we know this and how technology helped us learn this and tell the entire world digitally about this.
Well, it's the new technology, new frontier. Back in the day, you had to be in the courtroom for everything. Now,
Mhm.
what they do, both here locally and nationally, when there's a big case, is they have a reporting pool. That way, they have one camera that is shooting everything for the other outlets, and that way you don't have like 15 cameras, and that could
And
be
15 different
disruptive.
people
Yeah.
to make it even more disruptive, right?
Yeah, and you don't want disruptions, especially during a murder case. So, our chief photographer, Brian Bobb, is sitting in on the B Hall trial, and he was texting me updates as they were occurring, and then I was putting them in the story. And we
Well,
have
not
done,
only that, but you put them in the story, and then suddenly an alert went off on my phone.
yes, that's what you call pushing a story. That's what we call it in the industry when you get one of those little breaking news things that is pushing the story. So that one has been
Right.
posted, pushed, and it's our number one story on the website right now.
Well, it was a tragic thing,
Right.
and a lot of drinking was involved in this. And if you want to read more about it, all you have to do is look for the word B Hall on our. We both covered portions of this
Right.
case, but I'm going to interject here with just a little bit of a and I guess you'd say a little infomercial. If you want these news alerts, the one that Sharon just sent out a few minutes ago, and everything that's breaking news, please visit ourquadcities.com. And all you have to do, it's free, sign up, and you will get all of our alerts. We are very careful after 9 p.m. to mute the sound. So you'll not get a ding in the middle of the night while you're trying to sleep. I
Right.
do want to assure you of
Right.
that. But now is a good time to remind people, please sign up for our quadcities.com and you'll get all our alerts.
And even better, it's free.
It's free.
And if you hurry
So
up now,
Sharon, did this
yes.
surprise you? Did this, I'm sorry, I interrupted.
No, no, it's all
Did
right.
this surprise you, the sentencing?
Not really, because this was just such a violent case, and just what happened. I mean, life without parole does seem reasonable, I think. It's sad and tragic that things led to this, of course. An innocent person lost their life, someone else's life is ruined.
And the lives of all these
Right.
people who are their family and friends too
Families,
are
friends, they
affected.
were affected too. So just a momentary moment of who knows what. Who knows what the motivation was. We may never know. We probably will never know, but it just shows how one act can have such repercussions on so many.
Well, mine,
Mhm.
I have two cases here, and mine are I would say unusual. One of them I just found out about a suspect in. So I'll go with that one. Late Thursday afternoon, there was gunfire in East Moline. We knew that,
Right.
and we sent our crew there. And we learned that one victim suffered gunshot wounds and was being treated at a local hospital. This was last night.
Okay.
We also found out that the injuries are reported, thank goodness, as non-life threatening. But
Good.
there were no names of any suspects. We didn't know whether anyone was
We didn't know to
arrested or
look for
not.
anyone.
Right. Now, there was a perimeter set up near the Gas and Dash Mart, and that is in the area of 8th Avenue and 19th Street in East Moline. Police still were on the scene at 6:30 or 7 last night, so we knew something had happened, and we could see the little markings, the evidence markers, which probably were spent casings.
What was
This
interesting about this, though, I don't mean to interrupt, but I drove past the scene when I was coming back from going out to dinner with my family.
Sharon, did you have any idea what was going on there?
I saw the lights when we left to go to dinner, but it was from a distance. You see squad car lights and somebody probably got pulled over for speeding. So, you go out to eat, that's hour and a half easy. You come back, the lights are still there. That's when I'm going, oh, something's up. And I saw the evidence technicians taking the pictures. So that was like, oh, I can't wait for
Wow.
that press release.
One of those evidence techs was an Illinois State Police tech, and
Oh,
put that together with the crime scene tape, the evidence markers. I figured someone had been shot.
yeah,
So late last night, I got in touch with, or actually, I reached out to him. Chief Ramsey got back in touch with me and said, yes, he confirmed that there were gunshot wounds involved, that someone had been shot, a man had been shot. I don't know who has been shot yet.
right. The victim's
And
name
we
has
will be,
not been
again,
released.
we will stay on top of this. So when this suspect goes to court, we will follow this, follow through documents or going to court. So we will keep up with this and keep you up too.
Right. Well, keeping on with our latest updates minute by minute, jury deliberations are going on literally right now in the double murder case of Adriana Blake. She and another defendant in the case, for those who don't know, that the other defendant, Devin Brait, are on trial separately for the murders of Brian Goodwin and Amy Smith. And they are also charged with setting a fire to allegedly cover up the crime. Now, back in January of 2024, Davenport Police and fire were called to the 5200 block of North Division Street for a report of a structure fire, which we hear daily, literally. So, fire crews arrived, moderate smoke, they put out the fire, they searched the home for anyone hurt, as they do, and they found two dead people. And an autopsies on the victims revealed that they had both been shot to death before the fire. So the prosecution gave its closing arguments for about 2 hours yesterday. Then the jury was released for the day, and they began the defense's closing arguments at about 8:30 this morning, and the case went to the jury just before noon. And then they came back at 1, so they've probably had it about 2.5 hours at this point. So
Okay, so they're
we
still deliberating.
they are still
This
deliberating. If they don't know anything in probably about an hour, by 4:30, they're going to wrap for the weekend.
That's right. And they let the jury go home.
Right.
On TV and in movies, you see the sequestered jury a
Yeah.
lot of times. And this doesn't happen very often, at least in stuff that in crimes we have covered, Sharon. I don't think we've ever had a sequestered jury. They generally let people go home
Right.
with the admonition that they cannot talk about the case.
Don't talk about it, don't research, don't go online looking for it. I mean, don't read the newspaper, but you can read, Sports Illustrated, for example. That wouldn't cause a problem.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, you sat through the closing arguments for both sides, the
Right.
prosecution and the defense, right?
Right.
So is there any way you can just give us a synopsis of what each said?
Oh, it seemed like there were contradictory statements. People, the defense would say that something happened at this time. The prosecution said, no, it happened at this time. It was, it's a confusing case to follow. The saying, you need a scorecard to keep up, you literally do. Things kept getting mentioned in closing arguments, and I'm going, wait, this is the first time I've heard about this. What? What? So it's very interesting, and I mean, I hate to speculate, but I have no idea which way this one's going to go, honestly.
Well, making it more complicated is the
Yeah.
fact that there is a co-defendant. His
Yes.
name is Devin Brait.
Yes.
And you and I both have written a little bit about this. And
Right.
so I'm familiar at least with, the Division Street
Right.
fire and the
Right.
circumstances surrounding the deaths. Brait is going to be tried later
Yes.
this summer,
Right.
or at least right now. It looks that way through court documents.
Right. It appears in June.
So,
Yeah.
correct. So it will be really interesting to see what happens in her case versus what happens with his upcoming case.
Right. And we have absolutely no idea if she's going to be testifying against him. We have not heard anything about that, but we are definitely following this one all the way through.
Well, we have one more in Davenport that is highly unusual. Please, I beg you patience, because follow me through this.
Okay.
On May 12th, so this has been a little while ago,
Okay.
the Davenport Police Department requested assistance from a couple of other agencies after an incident at 3:13 in the morning,
Oofta.
when officers responded to a report of a domestic disturbance in the 1700 block of Jersey Ridge Road in Davenport.
Okay.
Now, law enforcement found two women involved in, and I will do this Austin Powers quote, a domestic incident. They were outside a residence in that area. Police arrived, stayed outside, and interviewed the two parties. And while they were doing that, gunshots were heard from inside the residence.
Wait a minute. People are outside. The people that were originally got the police called on them, they're all outside, and then it's a double header.
Inside, correct, came the
Oh,
gunshots, I should say.
Oh.
Shortly after they heard the gunshots, 26-year-old Daviance Lackey went out the back door of the house armed with a handgun, according to affidavits. Lackey pointed the firearm in the direction of the involved parties and the officers. So here are four people standing in an area. The gun was pointed at them, and the involved parties stayed there along with the officers. Gunfire was, I will say, exchanged. Lackey was struck. Officers provided emergency medical care to Lackey, who was then transported to a hospital and then treated for injuries and released. The officers and the other two parties, the original parties, were not injured during this incident. So the Davenport police officers have been named by the Iowa Division of Criminal Investigation. Both are 4-year veterans. They are Dan Hilton and Michael Hogan. They remain on critical incident leave pending a review by the Scott County Attorney's Office. Now, this is according to a release from the Division of Criminal Investigation. This is an ongoing investigation. At the time I checked this, which has been a little while ago, Lackey was not in Scott County Jail. I don't know her whereabouts, but I will find out where she is, and we will continue to monitor this case through Iowa documents, Scott County documents, to find out what is happening with her. And of course, the Scott County Attorney's Office will let the public know what is happening on that end too. Now, I did read a search warrant last night, and the search warrant was so lengthy, I didn't even include it in my story. But the search warrant was issued for cars, for rooms, for the entire residence, for the area, for indicia, which are envelopes, things that came in the mail, to ensure officers understand just who lives there in that house.
Hmm.
And according to Scott County documents, they show an officer collected shell casings, bullet projectiles, fingerprints, and DNA swabs. So this will unfold slowly again, but we'll learn more as the documents are filed, and I will keep following them, and you will too.
And what's really unusual is this is not the only incident we've had recently where police officers and a suspect have exchanged gunfire. That,
It's terrifying.
yes, well,
Um,
the latest, the other latest one involves a man who exchanged gunfire with the Bettendorf Police Department. Now, what
mhm.
is especially alarming, at least to me, about this incident is that 3 children were involved. So on May 21st, about 1:30 in the morning, police responded to multiple calls about a domestic fight between the defendant, who's been identified as 23-year-old Jamie Miles of Bettendorf, and his wife. Now remember, we have body cam video of all of this stuff. The Bettendorf police have their little, body cam things. Witnesses told police when they arrived that Miles and his wife had been fighting. He allegedly wrapped his hands around her neck, choked her, and then dragged her around the basement by her hair. He left. The wife, of course, locked the door, but he forced his way back in, went to the basement, armed himself with a gun, and was pointing it at the victim in a threatening manner while his own brother was trying to get him to put the gun down. Now, this is when the Bettendorf Police Department arrives and things start getting really wild. First officer on the scene arrives, and when the second officer comes in, the first officer is trying to get the kids out, right? So the first officer goes downstairs to the basement, sees Miles with the gun, and told him, quote, drop the gun, just like in the movies. Instead, Miles allegedly turned, squared his body towards the officer, and fired off 2 rounds, both of which hit the officer, wounded him. He was 6 to 8 feet away from the officer at the time of the shooting.
Oh,
Now, what's terrifying about this is that at the time of the shooting, the children were right behind the officer who got shot. The kids are okay. The officer, of course, fired back. He was in fear of his life and the children's lives. Miles was injured, taken to a hospital for treatment, and after he was read his Miranda rights, he said he knew a police officer was coming down the stairs, but denied shooting, despite the body cam that we just mentioned. So he was arrested on felony charges of assault on persons in certain occupations, attempted murder of a police officer, which is a first for me. I've seen attempted murder, assault on a police officer, but not this one. 3 counts of child endangerment, a domestic assault with intent or weapon, domestic impeding, air or blood causing injury, and intimidation with a dangerous weapon. He is being held in the Scott County Jail on $1 million. I want to do Austin Powers $2 million bond and his cash only bond, and he is waiting an initial court appearance.
so if you think about it, you can put up in another kind of bond that is not cash
Right,
only. You can put up your house for
right.
collateral
That
or
would be a
jewelry.
secured bond,
This is
right?
cash. Oh, right.
Yeah,
This is cash only. It must be cash only. So
that's wild.
obviously the judge thinks it is very important that he be kept in custody.
Yeah. So we will continue to follow that, and when we know when he has an official or a first appearance, we will be covering that. I did have one little bit of trivia though. Uh,
Please.
Monday was Memorial Day, the traditional start of summer and picnics and cookouts and things. Over the 3-day weekend in Scott County alone, 15 people were arrested for OWI over the weekend. All but a couple of them were first offense. 10 additional people were arrested for intoxication. So they were busy in the
Well,
court over the weekend.
it's good that they weren't involved in anything tragic.
Yes, they could have
Um,
been, they could have, somebody could have hurt somebody. These were OWIs. They could have hurt themselves, someone else.
the people in the car with them.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
Good grief, that's a lot,
Yeah.
Sharon. That really is.
It'll be interesting to see how those numbers match up with, say, the 4th of July or Labor Day. Also
Hmm?
big holiday summer party times. Oh my goodness, we've had a day, haven't we?
We have had, it's almost like an August, it's so hot out there that the streets are boiling day. But once again, we thank everybody for listening and watching, and we encourage you to lock your cars.
And your
And
houses.
if you know you're going to be drinking, have another way home.
Yes, I have a friend, call a cab. Uber and Lyft are a thing. Yes, it costs money to take a cab or an Uber, but it's a whole lot cheaper than a DUI.
And loss of life.
Yeah, that too.